Excuse me for my voice, but I have never seen anything like it.
You believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
Welcome to the show. I know there's a lot of opportunities for you guys to check out a lot of different stuff. So checking out ours means a lot, and especially on this topic, because I've been trying to keep my head down. I've been trying not to come on the podcast and talk about these type of things. I've been trying to just keep my mouth shut and sit in the corner, because this is my theory. I have my theory is that I'm going to talk about this, and then within the next 24 to 48 hours after you listen to this podcast, something is going to change, some news is going to break, and at the end of the day, my teams are going to end up getting screwed. Okay, that I'm going into this podcast telling you that this is where I'm at with the headspace that I'm in recording this. So, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Because we have to talk about it, and I know you guys are very curious and you guys want to hear this topic, so here we go. Let's just jump off the top. Last time we talked about this, the Astros cheating scandal, there was only one team involved. It was the Houston Astros. Since then, Carlos Beltran has been dismissed as the manager of the Mets. Alex Correa has been dismissed as the manager of the Red Sox. Cody Bellinger has talked about this. Rob Manfred has talked about this, the commissioner. And this is really what pushed me over the edge. It was two parts. Part one was Aaron Judge, my guy. The dude that if he said to Yankees fans, hey, we're going to war, I would say, let's suit up. Because he's Captain America to me. This is the guy that when we talk about the most influential athletes in professional baseball, he's on that list. He's on a short list of guys that I think actually have name recognition, have value, and besides all that, he's a baller. He is a killer at the plate. And I don't care what anybody says. This guy is, if not one of the best Yankees in the last 10 years. Hands down. So, when he comes out and says something, I was like, Andrew, are you going to have to come on the podcast today and talk about it? You're going to have to, at some point, bring this back up because a lot of things have changed. A lot of things have been updated. You got to talk about the Astros. And then this was the straw that broke the camel's back. LeBron James tweeting about it. You know, if the greatest basketball player of all time is going to talk about baseball, a sport that a handful of people that follow him might actually keep up with, you knew I had to come on the podcast and talk about it. So let's just get into it. The timeline now for the Astros cheating scandal, I don't know. We haven't come up with a cool name for it yet. I wanted to call it Bucket Gate because they were hidden a trash can in the dugout. Other people have called it, sign stealing, whatever you want to call it. I wanted a cool name. We haven't got it yet. That's really disappointing to me. But bigger than that is the timetable has now moved, right? So we know that Major League Baseball has sent out a league-wide memo in the beginning of the 2018 season telling teams, hey, cut it out. We have reports that a lot of you have been using sign-stealing techniques, have been using technology to cheat. And this is coming off of, we can only assume, the heels of the Astros cheating their way to the World Series. Or, for some Astros fans who are deniers, who don't think that there is anything wrong with what they did. I know there's a lot of people very close to me in my life who like to think that the Astros did nothing wrong. I will say this. At the time that they were doing it, it was not illegal what the Astros were doing. According to Astros fans, what they were doing at the time was not illegal. The league-wide memo had not come out yet. They were just using the same system, the same rig system that had been used before in the past. Other teams were doing it. You look at the Yankees who got hit with a fine for using Apple Watches in a Red Sox game. Red Sox were using Apple Watches as well. MLB fined them in 2018. That money went to hurricane relief. So they're not the first teams to do this. You got to think there's been teams all over who have been caught using technology, stealing signs. Okay? You can go all the way back to the early 2000s. Different sport, but same kind of concept. The New England Patriots stealing signs in Spygate. So this isn't new in professional sports. This isn't new in the realm of baseball. But the problem was, for a lot of us, is that the Astros won. If the Astros would have flamed out in the ALCS to the Yankees, if they would have lost in the divisional series, none of this matters. because they would have cheated, but they would have done it incorrectly. They would have cheated and they wouldn't have gotten anything from it. And I brought this point up to a friend of mine who's an Astros fan. I said, if you're playing Monopoly and you're cheating and you're winning, yeah, we care. Because you are rigging the system, you're rigging the game so that the rest of us don't have a competitive advantage or a competitive fair field to compete against you. If you're winning. Now, if you're losing, keep cheating. We don't care. Your cheating isn't working. You're giving yourself a disadvantage. The problem with the Astros was that they were giving themselves an advantage. And that's where we're at right now with this. And then, of course, you have to factor in the wild reporting from Twitter.com. Let me tell you, when Twitter detectives, this is a good rule of thumb on now for sports fans, I think. And just for people who are capital J, bottom J, no J journalists. If a account like Barstool or an account like one of these non-verified super slugger sleuths that were going through looking at, Altuve didn't want to rip off his jersey, there's a buzzer. Don't. Just stop. Stop it. The water's too muddy for anybody to really know who did what, when, why. Right? The only thing that we know, the only definitive things that we know, AJ Hinch, out. The general manager, Astros, out. Correa, out. Beltran, out. Those are the only people that we've had any discipline for. And that's the problem, I think, that a lot of baseball fans have had, is that there was no actual punishment to the Red Sox players who were cheating. And now AJ Hinch is reported to have gone in the clubhouse and broken televisions with a baseball bat, a regular American Psycho scene in the clubhouse, trying to dissuade his players from cheating. That his love of the game was so high that he was trying to keep the integrity of the team. But, instead of being a normal manager or a normal person and saying, hey, cut it out, guys. We don't need to cheat. We got Verlander and Garrett Cole. Okay? We got great pitching. All right? We're a good team. Altuve, you just won an MVP. Don't worry about it. We're fine. We are good to go. We are good money. We don't need to cheat to get ahead. Instead of doing that, he didn't do anything except break some TVs. So, you want to talk about integrity of the game, you want to talk about the different stuff. The water is too muddy now to have that debate. All I know is that these players have continued to come out. So, I'm going to play you the clip from Cody Bellinger from a couple days ago. Very rarely do I play clips on these podcasts, so you know this is a big deal. So let me set the scene. Reporter is asking Cody after the Astros had their press conference with the apologies, where Alex Bregman came out teary-eyed and apologized for hurting the game, and Altuve had his deal to say, Correa said his spiel, Jim Crane had the weirdest interview of all time, one of the weirdest press conferences in the last couple years of baseball, where he says, hey, what we did was wrong, but also we didn't do anything wrong. Well, what we're found guilty of wasn't really the biggest of deals. So Cody is in the locker room. Pitchers and catchers have now officially got to spring training. Everyday Joes, regular everyday guys, they're there as well. Cody Bellinger, former MVP. Journalists asked him what his thoughts on the Astros apologies were, and here it is.
What the Astros did yesterday. I thought the apologies were whatever. I thought Jim Crane's was weak. I thought Manfred's punishment was weak, giving him immunity. These guys were cheating for 3 years. I think what people don't realize is Altuve stole an MVP from Judge in 2017. Everyone knows they stole the ring from us. We all knew what they were doing. Teams complained to them, to the MLB, what they were doing, and they only started, criticizing it when it went public. So that was another part where they messed up at. We don't need a text. We know what they did. We knew they were cheating the game for 3 years. So it is what it is. Like I said, it is 2020 now.
So there are a lot of things to dissect there. And I want to start at the top. First off, he mentions the man of the hour, Aaron Judge, who we're going to get to in a second. He mentions that Altuve had stole a MVP from Judge. I agree. I thought the Judge deserved to be the MVP that season. I thought Altuve had a very good year. They ended up winning the World Series, so it made sense for him to win the MVP. He was the most valuable player in baseball. That said, if they cheated, now that argument kind of changes up a little bit. Now the regular season is in question, and this is where you get a little, again, water's very muddy. You don't know what the Yankees did, and we don't know what the Yankees did either. And I don't want to come on this podcast and tell you the Yankees are innocent and the Astros cheated them and they should have 28 rings by now and the Judge should be an MVP. I don't want to come on the podcast and say that. I think that right now, pound for pound, Aaron Judge is a more valuable player. He also has a lot more pounds on Altuve. I think that he's the more valuable player to have on your team today in 2020. The 2017 MVP, though, that's not up for debate anymore. They're not going to strip the MVP away from Altuve. I don't know. I don't think that ever baseball has taken an MVP away from anybody. There are much, much, much worse things that have happened in baseball with much, much, much bigger consequences on the record book, on the statistics, on the legacy of the game. Barry Bonds has 7 MVPs. Nobody's thinking about taking any of his MVPs away. Nobody's looking at who came up second place in the NL and saying, oh, we should give the award to this guy. Nobody's doing that. So the idea that they're going to give it to Judge, laughable. It's not going to happen. Now you talk about the Dodgers winning those 2 World Series, because that has kind of been the corner a lot of Dodgers fans have been on. I disagree. I thought that the person who stole those rings from you was not A.J. Hinch in the Astros. It wasn't Alex Correa in 2018 with the Red Sox. It was Dave Roberts. Your coach, he's the one that stole the rings from you because he's a terrible manager. He doesn't know how to manage his pitchers. That's the problem. Now, the thing is that Yu Darvish's career was almost ruined by tipping pitches in Game 7 of the World Series. Do I think that's right? No. But since then, you look at his career, he's been with the Chicago Cubs, not been great with the Cubs. He's been good, very, very, very doable starting pitcher. But he's not excellent. So the idea that the Astros whiffed on him, or would have whiffed on him if they didn't have the signs, it's hard to buy. Kershaw's the same way. I made the point one time with a friend. I said, hey, listen, Kershaw doesn't have his pitches being stolen from him. Maybe he can trick some of these Astros batters. And they said, hey, go back and watch. Go back and watch his playoff games before 2017. He's never been a good playoff pitcher. And it's true, he hasn't. He's never been a dominant pitcher in the playoffs. That is the biggest flaw, that is the Achilles heels for Kershaw in his career and his legacy in this game, is that he wasn't a good postseason pitcher. I don't know what to believe anymore, because I don't think that the Astros stole enough signs in the World Series to completely swing it. I honestly don't. I think the Astros are the 2017 World Series champions. I think that they stole signs before then. I think that they won a lot of games that they probably could have lost in the regular season because of it. And they bring up this the video of Chapman, who, that is the big play of that is being dissected like this is a Zapruder film, is that Jose Altuve hits a 2-run homer in the bottom of the 9th off Chapman. But when you go back and you watch, and MLB Network did a really good job of this, they broke it down. When you go back and watch, Chapman was all over the place in the 9th. And he should have got pulled earlier. That's the reason the Yankees lost in the ALCS. And as a Yankees fan, let me tell you, it's hard to own that. It's really hard to own up to it and say that the Yankees weren't the better team in that series. It was 3-2. Astros ended up walking off on the Yankees, go to the World Series, play a tight game with the Dodgers, lose or win in 7. I don't think that the stealing of signs mattered all that much in that series either. Now, do I think that swung a couple games? I think so. I think it might have swung a few of the games in the ALCS, not the Chapman home run, though, which is a pivotal play, a turning point play in Astros franchise history. So when you go down the list, I've said a lot of good things about the Astros. I've said that, they potentially didn't steal enough signs, in my opinion, to swing the World Series. I don't think that they stole enough signs to completely swing the ALCS. I think it helped. I think it was probably like 60-40, but I don't think it was anything more than that. Maybe 55-45% that the signs helped. But my issue is the regular season. I think that's where they got off the most. Now, going back to Bellinger, I don't know why you guys are talking. And I don't know why you brought my boy Aaron Judge into it either. Because now Judge has to respond. So this was his response earlier on Tuesday. Here it is.
Reports that when the Manfred's report came out, you deleted a tweet that congratulating Altuve back in 2017. Is that accurate? Did you delete that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And for the obvious reasons that we're talking about here?
Yeah, I think I took it down like right when I think the story broke out. Right when I think Mike Fiers came out and talked with The Athletic and stated that, this is what was going on in 2017, and once I heard that, it's just sick to my stomach, just to find out, I had a lot of respect, for those guys and, what they did and, especially, what they did for the city of Houston and that whole organization, man, a team that was in last place and drafted right, got the right players in there and, eventually, got to the World Series. I had a lot of respect for them, the way they played, what they did, and then to find out that, it wasn't earned. They cheated. That didn't sit well with me, and I just didn't feel like the post that I did really, meant the same anymore.
Now, I want to give a number for reference. And it's not a home run number, a batting average number, an RBI number. It's an age. Aaron Judge is 27 years old. Aaron Judge, like I mentioned before, my favorite athlete, or one of my favorite athletes right now. Currently, he's on the Mount Rushmore of athletes that I will follow to my grave. That no matter what is happening in the world, I will follow Aaron Judge. He's my captain. He's my leader. But, bro, you're 27 years old, man. And I get it. It's a different time. It's 2020. People are expressing themselves off social media. The deleting of the post, this is a story. I don't buy it. I don't love it. It's not for me. I'm more of a let's do it on the field guy. And that's where this entire thing comes down to, I think. This entire situation can be broken down into one really easy, catchy commercial that Major League Baseball has been running for the past 2 years. It's let the kids play. Let them play. Opening day is about 4 weeks away now. It's about a month away. And once we get the games rolling, I know that a lot of people are worried. Dusty Baker, the new manager of the Astros, is worried that his guys are going to get hit. He's worried that the pitchers on his team are going to retaliate. He's worried that Major League Baseball is not doing enough to protect his team because he thinks that a lot of these guys are going to be headhunting. Look, let's be real. Whoever is batting first in the Astros lineup is going to get pegged. They're going to get hit a lot. That's just a fact. But the same Astros fans who say sign stealing is a part of baseball need to understand that cheating and getting payback for it in the form of getting pegged, that's part of baseball too. So you can't complain about one and not complain about the other. I think that that's probably what's going to end up going to happen. But look, a lot of the teams that they play the Yankees 6 times. They play a couple other teams. I don't think they play the Dodgers at all this year. Once you get that initial game out of the way, okay, odds are this is not going to be a thing that's going to continue very long, right? You peg the first guy, you wipe some dust on it, you take first base, and then you just play ball, okay? This is a deal that I understand. I understand what the Astros did was wrong. But Astros fans need to understand something too. You need to understand that you're not good. Okay? You've not been on the block like some of these other franchises have. You're not as successful as some teams in your division. Okay? You're not as successful as teams in the American League. So in the last 5 years, when you've been good, you've been excellent, top of the class. But you can't sit in the back of the classroom for the first semester and then all of a sudden think that because you got a couple good grades on some tests, you're now the teacher's pet. That's not how this works, okay? You need to understand that the entire time that this Astros team has been on the climb, has been on the rise, through the draft, through the Tanka-palooza, that then they can get on a really good team, the fact that they didn't have a television contract for a couple seasons and fans couldn't see the games, even though I don't know why anybody wanted to watch a team that was losing 100 games a year. But you got to understand that you have not been humble in your success, and you have not been gracious in your losses. Okay, when you lost the Nationals this year, a lot of us thought, okay, well, now they'll eat crow. Now they'll kind of calm down a little bit. Maybe they won't think that they're the greatest thing in the world. But you were complaining about the Red Sox beating you last year. You complained about the Nationals beating you this year. You haven't been gracious in defeat. You've been annoying for 162 of 162 regular season games. Your fans attack other fans on Twitter. You attack other writers on Twitter. And, maybe fans of the Astros will say, well, look, other teams do it too. Listen. You guys do it more than any other fan base. So, get it, okay? Your team got caught with their hand in the cookie jar. There's going to be penalties. Now, do I think that Rob Manfred has made a bunch of mistakes? Oh, yeah, I do. You better believe it. Calling the World Series trophy just a piece of metal shows a complete lack of respect I think he has for the players. I think he has for the game. And I get it. He's a slip of words. He made a mistake when he's talking. Andrew, give him a break. Look, I've said before, any word that I say on this podcast, you need to take it as truth. Okay? Anytime that I'm dead serious talking into this microphone, you need to act like it's the gospel truth. Because that's how I feel about it. All right? And the fact that Rob Manfred can get up there and either make a slip of a phrase, words matter, man. And in 2020, like Cody Bellinger said, we're living in 2020 now, things are caught forever. Do I think he made a mistake there? Sure. The anonymity that he gave the players to talk about this scandal, that, okay, we're going to give you anonymity, we're going to give you immunity, now you can kind of open up a little bit more, you can talk to us about how deep this was going. I don't agree with that. I don't think that is the correct thing to do. I think that you give immunity to, say, like 5 guys in that locker room, not the entire team, because now the entire team can continue to do whatever they want to do. Okay, Correa has been one of the, if not the most annoying Astro since they've gotten good. And this entire, he talks about Altuve's tattoo. He says, oh, he had an ugly tattoo. Just don't talk. Just don't talk. And you can get this entire process over with quicker. The last part that we have to get into, and this is really the thing that pushed me over the edge, this is the thing that made me say, hey, we have to talk about this on today's podcast. I had to make an entire podcast episode, longer than a lot of the other ones, mind you, to talk about this. So this is my guy, LeBron James, who most influential athlete on the planet, kind of feels like something that we throw around a lot, but he is by far the most influential athlete on the planet. You go to any country in the world, you go to any city in America, you ask anybody under the age of 101 who LeBron James is, they're going to have an opinion of this guy. They're going to know who he is. So when he tweets out to his 45 million, with an M, Twitter followers, listen, I know I don't play baseball, but I'm in sports, okay? And I know if someone cheated me out of winning the title and I found out about it, I'd be effing irate. I mean, like, uncontrollable about what I could do. Listen here, baseball commissioner. Very patronizing. Listen to your players. Speaking today about how disgusted, mad, hurt, broken, etc., about all this. Literally the ball, it's a baseball emoji, is in your court, or should I say field, and you need to fix it for the sake of sports. Hashtag just my thoughts coming from a sports junkie, regardless of my own sport I play. So, LeBron James is going to get completely and totally murdered for this tweet. People are going to come on the radio and the television tomorrow, and they're going to tell you, what does LeBron know? Astros fans are already saying, well, get to the playoffs in LA, LeBron, before you talk to us. Okay, LeBron missed the playoffs last year if you don't keep up with NBA basketball. The thing is, though, is that I kind of agree with LeBron. I kind of get what he's saying. Everybody in sports right now is very mad. And, love him or hate him, he moves the needle. I'll end on this. baseball has that problem. Okay, young people don't care about the sport that their parents used to. Okay, this sport is 100% for older people. That is just a fact. That if you have a young kid, a young child in the house, if you have a young career that you're really trying to hustle and get to that next level, baseball's not for you. It's too long. There's too many games. If you want to be a dedicated fan, it's really, really, really difficult. That's why over the summer, sports talk is great because you can tune in and tune out. You can keep up with the hot takes. You can keep up with the storylines. Tune into this podcast because I promise you we'll be doing that all the time. But you can't sit and watch every single game. The way to solve that problem is not to turn your league into a soap opera. Major League Baseball. That's not the way that you figure this out. Just because The Bachelor gets good ratings, just because Love Island gets good ratings, just because MTV gets good ratings doing reality TV, doesn't mean that you can turn your league into a reality television. Okay? That's not how this works. That's a terrible business model, and baseball needs to figure it out now. All right, next week we're going to be talking about baseball a lot more. We're going to be going over all the baseball predictions. I'm going division by division this year. Instead of doing one long podcast and trying to fit every single team into it, I'm giving you about 8 20-minute, 15-minute podcasts that are going to go really in-depth on the teams in that division. So I'm very excited. I've been doing a lot of research, doing a lot of work to get you guys the most information and the best odds, too. Because I talked about this in the early days of the podcast, that the last show and then this one as well, I am not a guy who won't give you gambling odds. I'm going to give you gambling odds, and I've done a lot of research to get the over-unders and to get the odds to win the divisions. And this is the perfect time, gentlemen and ladies. This is the perfect time to make future bets because you look at some of these predictions that I'm going to have. You're going to look at some of these odds. There are some teams that are sneaky good teams that Vegas, I think, might not have the numbers correct. It's $10. Throw a $10 future bet, and you can get $180 to $250 back. Just think about that. $10 turns into $250. That's not terrible. So, Sam OJ, he's got his NFL draft predictions on the AFC East. We went over all that, so that's up for you as well. A lot of fun stuff happening. So, Friday, we have Film Friday. I don't know what movie we're going to talk about just yet. We'll figure that out for you. It's the middle of the week, so if you have something to do, you got to get it done. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.